Hey, kindergarten. Are you guys ready for your music special today? Mrs. Bell here. I'm ready to teach you about a brand new family of instruments today. So last week, I challenged you to a hand washing challenge and taught you a little song that I made up to help you remember a really good way to wash your hands to make sure that you're getting all of those germs off. So I hope that you've been singing your hand washing song this past week and washing your hands often and for at least 20 seconds, getting all of those places that I talked about in the hand washing song. Remember, getting the tops, the bottoms, in between, getting each and every finger, all 10 fingers, washing your wrists, and then scrubbing your nails. Okay, so this week, we're not going to do another hand washing challenge, although I want you to keep washing your hands all the time. We're going to review the brass family of instruments, which we studied whenever we were still going to school in the music room at Creekside. So we're going to review the brass family instruments that should be very familiar to you. But I'm going to introduce the string family today, and I have a wonderful piece of music by a very famous composer that features instruments from the string family. And the piece of music that features the string family that we're going to listen to today is called Spring. So how perfect is that? Because that's the season that we're in right now. And that's the title of this new piece of music that has all of those string family instruments that I want to teach you about today. So the objective today is I can identify instruments from the brass family and the string family. So let's start off by reviewing the brass family of instruments. These should all look really familiar to you guys. We talked about them at Creekside a great deal, and we talked about how all of the instruments in the brass family are made out of the same material. Do you guys remember what material the brass family of instruments are made out of? If you said they're made out of metal, or if you said they're made out of brass, you are correct. So they're made out of metal, but the type of metal that they're made out of is called brass. And it's this beautiful golden color. It looks a lot like gold, doesn't it? So we learned about how the brass family of instruments are made of brass, and they all have a mouthpiece on them where you blow air into the instrument. And they all have these metal tubes that the air goes through. And they all have my favorite part of the brass instrument called the bell, because that's where the sound comes out. The air that is blown into the mouthpiece goes through the metal tubing, and it comes out the end, that big opening that's called the bell. Now, most of the instruments in the brass family have buttons on them. You can change the sound. You can make some high sounds, medium sounds, low sounds by pressing a button as you blow into the mouthpiece. Those buttons have a special name. Do you guys remember what that special name is for the buttons? We don't really just call them buttons. The correct term for the buttons is called valves. So we press valves as we blow into the mouthpiece, and as we press different valves, we change the sound of the instrument. Okay, so starting off with the smallest in the brass family is our trumpet. Let's listen to the trumpet.
Trumpet.
The trumpet is the smallest. That means it makes the highest sounds. The next one is our French horn. Remember, it is very pretty because that metal coils around into these really pretty circular shapes.
French horn.
The French horn plays a little bit lower than the trumpet because it's a little bit larger. The larger the instrument, the lower sounds it can create. And then this instrument right here is the trombone. This is the only one in the brass family that does not have the valves. Instead of those buttons, it has what we call a slide that goes in and out. So instead of pressing a button to change the sound, you slide the slide back and forth. And whenever you hold the slide out, it makes a lower sound. And then as you pull that slide in closer toward your mouth, it creates a higher sound.
Trombone.
Okay, there's a trombone. And then the largest one in the brass family is our tuba. So the tuba is so large, it plays the lowest notes out of the brass family of instruments.
Tuba.
Okay, so there is our brass family of instruments to review. Okay, and today I want to introduce another family of instruments. Does anybody remember what I said the instrument family was called for today? It's called the string family, and we call the string family of instruments the string family because what do you see that they have on them? Yeah, strings. Now, they are not made out of brass like the brass family. They are actually carved out of wood. You see how they're this beautiful brown color. They are carved out of wood and they're stained and polished and varnished so that they look very shiny and beautiful. And then that wooden carving is covered by a set of strings. Now, the string family of instruments can either be played by plucking the strings with your finger, or they can be played by gliding this long stick across the strings, and that long stick is called a bow. So the string family starts off with the smallest, called the violin, okay? And when instruments in the string family are played, either by plucking with the fingers or by gliding with the bow, the strings vibrate, and that vibration echoes in the center of the instrument. So that wooden cavity that the instrument is carved out of makes that vibrating sound from the string echo. And when that echo comes out and hits our ears, that's how we can hear the instruments make music from the string family. So the sound is created by the vibration of the strings, and then that vibration is multiplied inside the instrument. We call that the resonating cavity. And then whenever that sound comes out and it echoes, we hear it and it sounds like a beautiful instrument. So the violin is the smallest instrument. That means it plays the highest sounds. Let's listen to each one.
Violin.
Hear how high that violin can play? Very beautiful. Viola is the next instrument. Now, you'll notice the viola looks almost exactly the same as the violin. They sound almost exactly the same, but the viola is just a tiny bit larger. So that means it can play a little bit lower than the violin. So here's the viola. Now, the next instrument in the string family is called the cello. It's a little bit bigger than the violin and the viola. And although the violin and the viola, here I want to make my camera bigger so you can see me. The violin and the viola are held on the instrumentalist's shoulder and chin. Okay, it's propped up here, and it's played like this because they're small enough to hold them up high and rest them on your shoulder. But the cello is so big that you can't hold it that way on your shoulder like you can the violin and the viola. So the cello is actually played by sitting in a chair, and my computer fell down, and you rest the cello on the floor. And you hold it in front of you and you sit in a chair, and you can either pluck the strings with your finger or glide the bow across the strings as the cello is in front of your chair. Now it's bigger, so it's going to play even lower than the violin and the viola.
Cello.
Now, the largest instrument that we're going to talk about today in the string family is called the double bass. The double bass is so large that you can't even sit in a chair to play it. You have to stand up because it's as tall as a person. So, because it's so large, that means it plays the lowest of all.
Double bass.
Okay, some other instruments that we classify in the string family are instruments like the harp, which you see in this slide right here. Another instrument that you're familiar with that is in the string family is a guitar or a banjo. And sometimes the piano is considered a string family instrument because inside the piano, there are strings. So I'm going to make another video, and we're going to study a piece of music called Spring by Antonio Vivaldi, and it features some instruments from the string family. So I'll be back with another video to listen to our piece of music by Antonio Vivaldi. All right, watch the next video. I'll meet you back here.